So there's a lot of MIGS out there. It seems like there's more every day.
That's right.
So why do you choose canaloplasty? Like, what about it makes you gravitate towards it for your patients?
Something that's pretty unique about canaloplasty is, it feels very physiologic, right? Like we're kind of getting at the tissue, at the main site of resistance. We're reversing some of the damage, some of that sclerosis of the trabecular meshwork and dilating canal, and kind of fixing the outflow dysfunction that we know glaucoma patients have. A post-operative canaloplasty patient looks like they often haven't had surgery. You're like hard pressed to look in the eye to find evidence that you were ever there, yet their pressures are better, their recovery is really smooth. So Emily, I know you're a tough nut to crack, my friend.
So tough.
You know, what would make you kind of lean in the favor of canaloplasty yourself?
For me, when it comes to what we're doing for a patient, this is a huge responsibility. For me, I just look at the data. You know, what does the data show? And I think that there is good data for canaloplasty. There is long-term data for canaloplasty. And I think also it does make sense. And I think patients buy into it like you were talking about. So for example, if your bathtub was clogged, the drain was clogged, and you called a plumber, if the plumber said to you, I just need to punch a hole in this bathtub and make a new drain, you kind of be like, what? Why don't you just fix what I already have? Right. And so I do like the idea of increasing conventional outflow and kind of bringing the patient back to that homeostasis that they had before they developed glaucoma.
You're a big stent user, you're a big goniotomy user. I love those technologies and procedures myself. Where does canaloplasty fit in the sort of rubric for you?
I think all of these procedures are complementary. So kind of where does canaloplasty come in for me? And I think it really comes in as that first step, right? So we have an opportunity here to restore homeostasis of the conventional outflow pathway. And if there's a chance to do that, that's what I want to try to do first. And I'm not afraid to combine with other things. I think patients do really well with a combination of canaloplasty, stent, and goniotomy and things like that. But I at least want to try to restore that conventional outflow pathway. Shamil Patel published a paper last year where he looked at mild to moderate and he looked at severe. And mild to moderate was very consistent with other studies where they ended up doing quite well with medication and IOP reduction. But also the severe patients, a large proportion of them, smaller than the mild and moderate, did quite well. And so this does work in those severe patients.
There's also the opportunity to kind of really safely understand where you are in the eye. And having the illuminated catheter is really kind of a special tool that adds a tremendous amount of safety and confidence.
And lowers your blood pressure.
Exactly. My stress scores are very low on canaloplasty days. So there's a space for canaloplasty in kind of the oddballs also. Or in the sort of complex anterior segment type situations, loose zonules, unicameral eyes, where you really can't tolerate hyphemas, you really need good visualization. The success of this procedure in my weird eye hands gives me that much confidence that we can move it upstream also.
Okay, Manjool, you've been working with Nova Eye on the Shear Clear Technology. What is that?
Shear Clear. Say that 5 times fast.
Shear Clear.
Shear Clear.
Shear Clear.
So you have this cohesive OVD that when you put it in the iTrack system with the Shear Clear technology, what happens is you really generate a high pressure and a high velocity. All those chains actually start to kind of detangle and straighten out. The viscosity drops like massively, 200x almost. So it allows us to deliver viscoelastic in places that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to go. With time, that pressure reduces, the velocity slows down, and that viscoelastic starts to retangle and it becomes cohesive again. It starts to expand. So we may be hitting that true promise of canal dilation, working on the TM, and even improving that distal outflow, which is probably why you kind of mentioned Shamil's data on even severe glaucoma patients having some efficacy.
That's really exciting, and it's also exciting to actually go back to high school physics in this moment. And I'm wondering if there's a visual representation that we could look at.
So Emily, check this out. All right, so check out this OVD.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna see this other blob. What are you noticing?
Well, this one is much more viscous, the one that they're picking up and it's just kind of falling off. You know, it's kind of like more like a liquid. And that kind of looks like, you know, Healon 5 or something.
So would it surprise you to hear that these are both Healon?
That's such a state change between those two. That's so interesting.
So regular Healon straight out of the canister.
Yeah.
And Healon worked through Shear Clear, basically, right?
In my mind, we're kind of going from talking about a really structural process, right? Dilating Schlem's canal, dilating distal collector channels. And now we're modulating flow in a very dynamic state, right? Like this is a dynamic change of the viscoelastic. So I think it sort of really lends itself to that idea of, once again, establishing physiologic flow.
Yeah.
As somebody who already uses canaloplasty, I think it gives me slightly more confidence that there is an effect here, that we are perhaps reaching more distal outflow than maybe we thought we were initially. But the core of me sort of says, show me the data, because that is ultimately the gold standard in how I make decisions for my patients.
Knowing that we at least have some degree of biological plausibility to this argument that we've been making for a long time as people who work in the canal, this is just opening the door to a tremendous amount of possibility.